so you get past the initial click-through rate test, right? Does my ad suck or not? Once you have an ad that's working, then you have to obviously judge it based on conversion rate. But basically, we look for like a 0.6 to 0.7 return on ad spend from the initial test. If we're way off from that, then there's something not working, whether it's the ad or the landing page or the offer, we don't know, but you should be getting over the hump, getting, closer to 0.6, 0.7 return on investment.
In today's episode of Health Supplement Business Mastery, you're going to learn how to use YouTube ads to grow your health supplement business. Some of the things we'll cover in this episode are the opportunities and challenges that are available in YouTube right now, a simple yet effective ad structure that works on YouTube, how to research ad creative, how to see what your competitors are doing, and how to create ads on a budget. There's a lot in store for you in this episode, and we dive deep with today's guest, Keith Canone. Welcome to Health Business Mastery, the Creative Thirst podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Hewitt. Hey, today's guest is Keith Canone. Keith is a traffic and conversion coach specializing in YouTube ads. He helps small to mid-sized businesses 10x their revenues while slashing their ad spend through profitable ad campaign management and affordable creative production. Keith, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bobby. I'm glad to be on.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. So a lot of things that my audience struggles with is traffic. You know as well as anybody, Keith has been many years in the trenches in the supplement space, on the ad traffic space, in the direct response space. You've got, I think, over 18 years of experience in this area. But one of the things they struggle with is really traffic and scaling and really getting people to offers, aside from converting, of course. But you can't have conversions without traffic. It's kind of a chicken and egg situation.
Yeah, I was just going to say the crazy thing is that you can have a mediocre product and have great, marketing and be successful, where there's great products out there with bad marketing that fail, right? And you see that often. So the idea is to combine that, have a great product with great marketing and the ability to get, scalable traffic. That's the secret formula that we're all trying to get to.
Absolutely. It's a challenging formula, but when you get it right, it works. And it is possible to get it right. So one of the traffic sources you focus on is YouTube, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I basically, as you said, I've been doing this a long time. And over the last 5 years, I started seeing a trend where everybody was looking at Facebook as, the be all end all of traffic and completely ignoring YouTube. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is YouTube is enormous. It's more than just, prank videos and kids cartoons. And it's actually considered the second largest search engine in the world. So people are there looking for solutions, looking for information, and in different ways. In Facebook, they're not, right? In Facebook, you're actually just looking to be distracted with your own life, right? You're looking at family photos and whatever else that you want to look at. But you're not there really to learn or to find a solution to anything. So there's intent behind YouTube that Facebook doesn't have. So, the fact that there was far less people competing for that space, and there's intent behind the searches, and there's less compliance problems in YouTube than there is in Facebook. So for all those reasons, I got tired of fighting Facebook for, compliance and all this other stuff. And I said, let me just go where the eyeballs are and not have to deal with all that stuff. So we started focusing a bit on getting people's offers in YouTube and optimizing that. And of course, one of the core niches that I've been in this whole time is the supplement space. So a lot of my work in YouTube has been marketing supplements.
Yeah, YouTube is like a hidden gold mine, really, for traffic, for all the reasons you said. But I think what scares people away is like the video aspect of it. Like they're scared of being on camera. It's a lot more challenging to create a video than it is to just put up an image. What are your thoughts on that? Is this really just an opportunity because it's scaring people away, or is there a certain way to kind of do it that's affordable or quick or easy?
Yep, absolutely. And that's one of the things we're going to cover today is how to create successful ads on a budget, right? And not only just from a money standpoint, but from a time standpoint. High quality production takes a lot of time, and you can spend 6 to 8 weeks, and I've done it, spend 6 to 8 weeks creating something that looks amazing that could be on TV, and then it flops. And then you wasted 3 months of your time and a lot of money to figure out that lesson. So that is one of the barriers that keeps people out of YouTube. But what they don't know, and what your listeners are going to learn, is that it's not as hard as it seems, and it's not as expensive as it seems. So we'll definitely get into that.
Fantastic. Let's get right into it. So tell us a little bit about kind of like what you do and how you do it, and then we'll get into like the nitty gritty.
Sure. So when I'm looking at bringing an offer into YouTube, I first say, okay, is this a viable traffic source for the offer? Of course, if it's a supplement, then it is. Now, you don't have a ton of people. There are searches for certain things. Like, let's say you're trying to figure out how to lower your cholesterol, right? So there are people searching, how to lower cholesterol, right? But there's also the reciprocal approach of you just putting the offer in front of the person that happens to be looking for something else, but also has that symptom or that condition, and then they see your message, incoming that way. So there's two ways to do it. You first should always start with identifying the searches that people would be searching for your product. And then I would like to start there, because if I can't make that work, I'm not going to make the travel and leisure segment of YouTube work, right? I'm not going to make one of the huge scalable audiences work if I can't make it work to the people that are searching directly for that solution. So that's number one is, okay, who's my core audience? Where are they in YouTube? The cholesterol example I gave you is just one. You can target based on certain videos that they're watching already, which is another amazing thing about YouTube. You could literally handpick the video that you want to run your ad in front of. So let's say Dr. Oz has a video that has 10 million views, and it's about 7 foods that lower your cholesterol. Well, you can literally handpick that YouTube URL in your targeting options and say, I want to run my ad right in front of this video. So that's extremely powerful, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. In addition to, it sounds like just basic keyword bids, just like a Google Ads, right?
Yes, exactly. So anybody types in cholesterol, lower cholesterol, you would target those keywords first. Now, just like with Google Ads, you're going to overpay for tighter targeting, right? Pretty much all the traffic platforms work like that. The more niche down you get, the more expensive the traffic is. But you're willing to sacrifice that high traffic cost at the very beginning to figure out if you have a product that can be sold to these people. Once you've done that, then you widen your audience a bit. Your traffic costs can, go lower. And you can reach more people. But I like to have proof of concept first, right? Make sure I have a good ad, make sure I have a good offer page, and it's converting at a high enough level.
Are there like basic benchline numbers you shoot for at that level to make sure it's viable?
Yep. So in the very beginning, we look at click-through rate as our core metric, because if you have a weak click-through rate, you have a weak ad, right? Or you have bad targeting, right? Because you could have a good ad, but it's just going to the wrong people. But if you have your niche, your demo targeting nailed down the way you should, right? Let's say I'm doing 55 and older, female, live in the US, and then are searching for or watching content related to cholesterol. So if I know I have that nailed down, and then I have a 0.5% or just a 0.5% click-through rate on my ad's weak. Right. So the benchmark we have for click-through rate is over 1%. Anywhere over 1% is okay. 3% is very good. Anything over that's excellent. So that's my first initial metric. Am I getting a 1% or better click-through rate? And it sounds low, but when you think about it, you're talking about a wide variety of people, right?
Oh yeah, I know you can build a multi-million-dollar supplement business with like a 0.7% click-through rate.
Exactly. Yeah. So once you've identified you have a strong ad, then you can basically start playing with audiences, right? Playing with different spins on that audience. Like I said, you can have 55 and older, live in US, and then also watches travel and leisure videos, right? Because they may be a little bit higher on the income scale than somebody that's not. So you can layer in these custom affinity audiences, which is what they're called, custom affinity audiences, You can layer in these things to get a better performance. But it all starts with the ad. Is the ad good, or do I need to go back to the drawing board?
What about the length of the ad? I know YouTube has been talking about for a long time of penalizing ads that are longer than like 30 seconds, I think, or 60 seconds, obviously because they just want to get more impressions out there. They want to just get more ad spend.
Yep.
Is that something that's actually going to happen? Is it happening? How's it affect your creative?
They definitely discourage, there's people that'll run a full VSL as an ad, right? It'll be a 25-minute. So they're discouraging that. But the sweet spot for me for the last 5 years has been, 90 seconds to 2.5 minutes. I've never done anything shorter than 90 seconds or maybe just under 90 seconds, but everything. And it's funny when I follow a formula, and I don't ever do word counts. I just write, right? And then when I make the video, like clockwork, it's almost always 2.5 minutes long. It's just weird. It just happens that way. Maybe it's because of the way I'm writing, in a similar fashion every time.
Oh yeah, you would do it. You would do this for a long time. I'm sure you have it psychologically or dialed in. You don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So yeah, I found that that's the most effective amount of time, because you need a bit of time, right? You need obviously to make your point, right? And then you need to establish a little bit of authority, credibility, and then you need to, offer the solution. So to get all that done in 60 seconds, is very difficult. We're not talking about like a Pepsi commercial, where you don't really have to say anything, right? So anyway, yeah, long-winded way of saying, 1 to 2.5 minutes has been my sweet spot.
Right. So you're more on the direct response sort of format of the ad. You're not on the branding side of things.
Branding will be very difficult to work in YouTube. Absolutely. I've seen some people do it successfully, but it's not easy. You're going to have to spend a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, that's not for the D2C brands. That's more for the bigger brand. Yeah, it makes sense for like a Pepsi and a Coca-Cola, sure, where they have just gobs of ad budget they could just throw away and just hope for the best. But they're not expecting to see a return on it, quite honestly.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't care. They don't care really. They're worried about when you're in the store, that you think Coke and you think Pepsi or whatever. There's no direct response required in those ads. So, which I always thought was crazy. Like it blows my mind that they do that, but they do.
Yeah, it is insane when you think about it. It's like, are they really actually making any profit? Like, or are they operating at a loss? Like,
well, just think of those Super Bowl ads, $5-6 million, for a 30-second spot, and you have zero tracking. You don't know if it drove one sale. They have metrics that they monitor after the Super Bowl to see, but it's complete guesswork. They have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, the small to mid-sized guy cannot afford that.
Right.
He's got to go for the sales. Got to go for the direct to consumer, the direct response. He's got to get a sale on the first visit. Or maybe not. What do you recommend? Is there any retargeting side on the YouTube or?
Yeah, so absolutely. So retargeting is a big part of it because, as we all know, like you're not going to get everybody to buy on the first try, right? It might take several touch points, several times for them to see the same video. So a lot of times we'll have impression caps on these ads that say, okay, you're going to see this video not more than once a week, but you'll see it up to 7 times before we decide to not show it to you again. And that, you can play with those numbers. You can do 3 times, you can do 5 times. It's up to you. But the idea is that just because your ad is served doesn't mean they were looking at their phone, right? They may have been completely distracted, not even saw the ad. Their kid may have had the phone. My daughter grabs my phone often and is like watching, Minecraft videos. And, my profile says I'm a 43-year-old male, that lives in, Florida. So I'm being targeted with ads, even though she's watching Minecraft videos. So that one time or that one impression was a wasted impression, right? That's why you serve it 4, 5, 7 times so that you get a better chance of getting the proper person that you intended to see that ad to actually see it and listen and watch it.
Is there any tracking on like how long they watch the ad? Can you do any?
Yeah. YouTube will give you stats and you're actually not paying for the ad until you get to the 30 second mark. So basically anybody watches the first, 29 seconds, it doesn't cost you. It only costs you if they're engaged, right? So one of the things that we'll talk about here is in ad structure is, whereas in Facebook you have a scroll stopper, right? You have to get them to stop scrolling, see what the ad is about, and then engage. In YouTube, you have the skip ad stopper, right? So even a 3-year-old or 2-year-old knows that skip ad button's about to pop up in 5 seconds, right? So they're waiting with their finger on that lower right region. they're just waiting for that thing to pop up, and they're going to hit skip. And adults are doing it too. So your job as a marketer is to get them to make a decision in the first 30 seconds, whether this is something that they're actually serious about or that they're not, right? Because we want to create that fork. We want to get rid of everybody that's not in our target, get them to intentionally skip ad because we don't want them watching it, right?
Right, we don't want them to pay for it. We don't want to pay for someone that's not qualified.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's almost the opposite of clickbait, right? It's like clickbait puts so much curiosity. They just want eyeballs, right? They don't really care. They just want you to be like, whoa, what is this? How am I going to save $1,000 in my car insurance? Like, this is the opposite. We need to be like as direct as possible in the first 2-3 sentences so that we get rid of the kids, we get rid of the time wasters, and we only have people watching past 30 seconds that are somewhat interested in what we have to say.
And by direct, you mean like calling out the problem, like the typical like direct response, good headline type of thing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we can get into the structure right now. That's a good segue. So the structure that I've used, I've coined it the BROS method just because it helps me remember, but the B stands for bold statement, right? So you have to make a bold statement that's going to get somebody to pay attention to what you have to say. And that bold statement also has to qualify that person, right? For example, we can use the cholesterol example again, or let's just stick to that. So you would say, if you have high cholesterol, there's a certain fruit that you need to avoid at all costs. Okay. That's a bold statement. You're like, whoa, I have high cholesterol. I need to know which fruit, is not good for me. So that's your bold statement. And so if you don't have high cholesterol, you're going to hit skip ad, right? It's not, you could have back pain, you could have arthritis, whatever, but you don't have high cholesterol. So you're going to skip ad, which is what we want.
And that's something you can't do on Facebook. If you did that on Facebook, your ad would get slapped, it would get shut down. You can't.
Yes. So it goes back to my other point about compliance. So YouTube's compliance is so far, and it's been, pretty consistently easier to get around than Facebook, and not to mention if you get a problem in YouTube, they'll tell you what you did wrong, and then they'll give you the opportunity to fix it. They don't just ban your account and, tarnish your name for the rest of your life, right? It's like, no, your ad's disapproved. You need to fix this claim, or you can't say that. And then you submit a new ad and you're up and running, which is really, really powerful, obviously, for anybody that's ever been slapped by Facebook. You know how that feels.
Yeah, absolutely. So is it really just the fact that a video is the biggest hurdle, like to get into this channel?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And we'll let's get to that in a second. Let's go over the rest of the flow for the ad. So that way we, I guess for anybody that's listening can maybe jot it down. But
yeah, so we got our B, right? We got our B.
Yep, so you got your B as your bold statement. R for reduce friction, right? So when you make that bold statement, their radar is going to go up and they're going to be like, yeah, right. I always use the yeah, right rule, right? Does your ad make somebody say, yeah, right? And if it does, you probably need to tone it down or tweak it, or, I would say make the benefits less quick, or less easy, right? Something sounds too good to be true.
Right. It's too big of an unsubstantiated, too big of an unsubstantiated claim. Right? So the trust is out there. We don't believe.
Exactly. And with YouTube, you do have to be careful. You don't want to say like you're going to lose 10 pounds in 7 days, right? The specifics is a problem. You can say, you lose up to 10 pounds in just a few weeks, or, in a shorter period of time. You can say things like that, but you don't want to be super specific as well. So anyway, so reduce friction. So overcome the immediate subconscious barriers that they have in their mind, right? And so an example would be like, I'm going to show you how to XYZ in just a few weeks. I'm going to show you how to sing better in just a few weeks. I'm going to show you how to drive the ball farther, whatever that, benefit is. That's your opening statement. And then you want to say something like, and it's not going to involve, and then you want to put in their pain points, right? So I'm going to show you how to lower your cholesterol, right, in just a few weeks. And it's not going to involve you going on any crazy restrictive diets, taking any dangerous medications, right? Whatever the 3 or 4, probably 3 most common pain points, you want to get them to believe, okay, this is going to be easier than I thought it was, right? So that's my strategy for reducing friction. So that's the R. Then the O is offer the solution, right? I'm about to give you, my 10 recipes for lowering your cholesterol in 10 minutes or less, whatever your lead magnet is or your product offering is. That's when you present it. And then you want to basically justify that your solution is different than the other ones that you've tried before, right? Similar direct response marketing, right? Unique mechanism. Why is this different than the last cholesterol medication I tried, right? Or the last recipe book I bought? What makes this one unique? And then if you do that well, and they're still watching, then the S in bros is social proof, right? So now you have somebody else say that exactly what they're thinking, that, oh, wow, this was easier than I thought it was going to be. I didn't have to stop eating pizza. I get to eat pizza on Friday nights at the bowling with my buddies.
Do X without doing Y.
So you bring that home, right? And then, of course, I didn't use this as one of the letters acronyms, but then you have to tell them what to do, right? So you have to tell them to click on the button to go, download this PDF, or click on the button to try this for free. Whatever that call to action is, that's how you kind of close it out.
It's a very simple but effective ad structure.
Thank you. That's what I was going for. Keeping it simple. And then I will say this, with YouTube, because it's a visual platform, right? And their audio is already typically on, right? Because you could be on Facebook with your volume off. In fact, a lot of people are on Facebook at work or on Instagram with their volume off because they don't want to get in trouble, right? So you're not on YouTube unless you're listening or watching something, right? So the volume is on, which is a good thing, right? So if you can make your ad visually stimulating and use audio that's stimulating, right? Sound effects, something that will catch their attention. But the visual part is the most important part, right? So I try to use something visual in all of my ads, and I can give you a couple examples if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was writing ads for a vitamin C product, and one of the hooks was, your grandmother lied to you about orange juice, right? It was basically like, orange juice is actually horrible for you if you think about it. It was way too much sugar for most people to be consuming, and you're not really getting the pure vitamin C that your body actually needs from orange juice. So one of the things we did is I said, we need to show orange juice, but we need to do it in an exciting way. So I went to Amazon and I typed in humongous glasses, right? And I found a giant wine or cocktail glass that was literally like, 2 feet high, maybe 2.5 to 3 feet high. And then so I had the female talent pour orange juice into this giant glass as she was reading the opening line about orange juice. So I didn't do a side-by-side on this, but I bet if you did a side-by-side with her just pouring a regular glass of orange juice, saying the same thing, and then pouring into the giant glass of orange juice, my assumption is that the one with the giant glass is going to get a better response. So anyway, I hope that illustrates what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you still want something to sort of engage them and catch their interest.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise it's just another boring video that they're going to skip. You have to overcome that visual aspect. So like a standard talking head, if you have a doctor or, we're talking about supplements here. So if you have like a representative of the company talking about the supplement, immediately you say boring, right?
Yeah.
So to get out of that, you need something that's going to stand out. You can change camera angles. I've done a few that I just shot one with Elmer, which you're familiar with, Bobby, right?
Yeah.
And it was a side profile of him in his kitchen with an arthritis grabber, and he was grabbing a can out of the cabinet, and he turned to the camera while he was grabbing his can, and he said, you know, I know you guys can't see what I'm saying right now, but so it's one of those little tools that you could pick up something with. It's about, I don't know, a foot or two long, and it's got a handle, and you squeeze it and grab something. So he was using one of those, and he grabbed the can out of the cabinet, and he said, you know, my doctor told me to get this for my arthritis pain, even though I knew it wasn't going to do anything to solve the problem, right? But that camera angle of somebody in their kitchen, as if you were standing right next to him talking to him, is something I've never even seen before in an ad. So I wanted to, you know, try that variety, and then we've tried other varieties where they're inside of a refrigerator or inside of the medicine cabinet. So anyway, different camera angles is also another way to spice up the ad, especially in the very beginning, because you don't have to shoot that the whole time. But if you just shoot the first line like that, and then you could do a standard, you know, talking head after that, and then you're fine, right? Because you've already done its job.
Yeah, so that's what are you recommending? The first 10 seconds, the first 5 seconds, or even...
first sentence? Yeah, first sentence basically. You don't want to change mid sentence. You know, you want to get that full thought out. But that's all I did for him. I just had him shoot that one, you know, that one line. I also had him shoot cracking an egg in a bowl, right? Sitting at the table and just talking while he's cracking the egg in the bowl, pouring coffee into a mug. Right? Just those little things, like here's this guy talking about my problem that I have while he's pouring coffee, like we're having breakfast together.
Yeah, anything but a talking head, right? They're doing something. Yeah, they're doing something in each one of those examples, which is, and the camera angles is a brilliant way to sort of engage them, because they do it in movies and comic books all the time, right? Mm-hmm. They do it from an angle that you've never seen before.
Yep.
And that's really what enhances it and brings the viewer in.
Exactly. Yeah, we even mic'd up the coffee pot so that you could hear the pouring coffee a little bit louder than you would normally from a standard mic. And that coffee pour ad actually did really well actually.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's my formula for the ad copy and production. But now I guess if you want to get into how to get it produced, we could do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it sounds pretty daunting for the average person to be like, oh God, I got to somehow figure out a way to get my camera inside of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the editing and slicing that you have to do to get the final piece.
Yep.
So you do full production as well for your clients?
I do. So we'll do everything from ad copy to production to ad management or campaign management in YouTube. And that's often the best approach when you have somebody that's doing everything, right? Because again, you can have a killer ad, and if the campaign manager doesn't know what he's doing, it's going to flop.
Yeah.
So it's good to have somebody that knows what they're doing. But in terms of production, there's a lot of resources out there that I've taken advantage of over the years that are pretty inexpensive and pretty easy in terms of editing software. You know, I use this tool called WeVideo, and it's affordable. I think it's maybe like $30 or $40 a month, or maybe at the most $50 a month. And it's like a really stripped down version of, you know, Sony Vegas or, you know, Movie Studio or Adobe Premiere, all these, you know, very, very complicated softwares. It's a stripped down version, but it's got templates. It's got stock photo or stock video footage already in there. Text on screen that pops up, and you just type it, you know, you choose the one you like and you type in the text, and it does the animation for you. So anyway, so in terms of editing, there's tools that make it a lot easier than you think. And now in terms of talent, here's what I always tell everybody. There's tons of people out there that want exposure, right? As an actor. In fact, it's one of the hardest jobs to get work for, right? So like in Los Angeles alone, there's thousands of starving actresses that are waiting tables until they get work, right? So, you know, you find an actor, and I'll show you how to find them, but you find an actor, you say, hey, you know, we'll pay you $200 to do this read for us. And they'll, you know, gladly take the work, because they'd have to work, you know, at the restaurant for 2 or 3 shifts to make that much money, right?
Yeah, that's a super easy gig for them too, yeah.
Yeah, and they want the practice, they want the reel, they want to be able to use it in their portfolio. So the hiring of people is actually very cost effective. And believe it or not, my secret source is Fiverr. And most people know what Fiverr is, but in case you don't know what Fiverr is, Fiverr is an outsource website where you can get anybody to do anything for an affordable price.
Yeah, pretty much.
Logo design. I actually even had a friend pranked on Fiverr. He was selling a motorcycle, and I had somebody call as Borat and tried to buy his motorcycle a long time ago. But anyway, so you can find anybody to do anything, and it's very competitive pricing. And I am sort of notorious for making high quality videos for less than $400. So like, that's my budget. I need to get the talent for 200 or so, 2 to 250. And then I need stock footage that often can cost a couple bucks. And then I need a couple bucks for editing. But you really could get I would say, moderately highly produced video for less than $500.
It's very affordable.
And not be on camera, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to be on camera, or people on your team don't want to be on camera, you can find somebody that is good. I mean, I've hired TV level actors for, like I said, $100 to $200 to do a 90-second or a 2-minute read.
Yeah. So if you're camera shy or want to jump into this channel, really without anything, you'll write the script, you'll produce the video, you'll even manage the ads. That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a turnkey kind of situation. I think people really like. But if it's something that you want to do, on your own in terms of creating the ads, you can use Backstage is a resource for talent, and Fiverr are my two go-to sources for talent. And let's see. Oh, and stock footage. Stock footage, like I said, if you have a service like WeVideo, it feeds in stock footage that you can use royalty free. And then if you need to buy sometimes I do find I need to buy a specific clip or two. And then sometimes that'll cost, $50 or $70 per clip. But I only do that when it's something that's really like special. You know what I mean? When I really need a clip, a grandma playing with her kid that I can't find on a free stock video site, then I'll go ahead and buy it because I believe it's worth it. Otherwise, you can pretty much use free stock video sites to find what you are looking for.
What about these ads? Do they generally have captions on them, or no caption? It's just audio?
Yeah, typically we've tested that. We've tested captions, and it goes back to what we talked about before. You're watching YouTube with sound typically, so unless you're trying to appeal to hearing impaired, people have the sound on and are likely to hear what you have to say without the captions.
Have you experimented with vertical format videos versus horizontal?
Not really. Yeah, I don't know that would work well in YouTube because it's going to fall in basically YouTube's standard video format, especially with mobile. With mobile traffic. Yeah, it's pretty standard format size, I think.
So what about do you research the competitors that are already doing ads? How do you even see their ads? For one, I know Facebook has the Facebook ads library, which makes it nice and easy, but what do you do on the YouTube side?
Yep. So there's a tool called VidTao, VidTao. You can go there, it's free, and you can type in either an advertiser, or you can kind of search for their top 100, advertisers. You could search for the niche or the product that you're looking for, and then it'll pull up the advertisers that are running ads, how long the ad's been running, and the volume that they're getting. So you can see if, let's say you're selling a supplement, you could type in, Organifi or V-Shred or whatever the bigger advertisers are, and look at what they're running. That'll give you an indication of if the volume is there. And yeah, I think that's so where I would start is, identify your angle for your ad. What is the hook that we're going to use? Selling a supplement, as outright is very difficult. There's tons of supplements on shelves that they see every day. So for you to sell something direct to consumer, you need something that's interesting, right? You need an interesting angle, an interesting hook or something. that sets your supplement apart from somebody else's. So I would start there. Do I have a good hook? And then I would say with confidence, there's not a supplement that wouldn't work in YouTube. That couldn't work in YouTube, I should say, because there's traffic in there for pretty much every condition that a supplement would be supporting. Whereas, for example, an industry that's harder to make work are things like how-to videos. So let's say guitar lessons, for example, is tricky because there's so much free guitar lessons in YouTube. You could literally be a master guitar player for free just by watching guitar lessons in YouTube. So it doesn't mean you can't make it work, but that's the difference between a supplement, for example, and like an instructional how-to.
I say typically something that they can't get or learn on YouTube would work, but if they can get it or learn it, then it's not going to work.
It's harder.
Well.
Yeah, it's for sure harder. And like I've seen some offers scale. There was a client that we worked with before on singing lessons, and they were just brilliant marketers and they made it work. But I've seen a lot of other people fail, in the same niche to make it work. They didn't have the financial resources to spend enough money on traffic and go in the hole to make it back on the back end, So anyway, so the supplement space, I think, is one of the good spaces for YouTube.
Yeah, there's no way you can get the solution in video, right? Even if it's it's coming at it from a different angle of don't drink orange juice, it's still not going to solve your problem. You still need the product to solve it.
Exactly.
So Keith, how do you judge performance beyond the initial ad test?
Okay, so yeah, once you have a working ad, right, it's over 1% click-through rate, then you obviously got to start looking at performance, right? What is the offer converting at? And, typically you're not going to hit a home run right out of the park and be ROI positive in the first test because you're still trying to figure out your traffic sources. You haven't been able to eliminate some of the dead weight yet. So it's usually going to be under a 1%, or under a 1-to-1 ROAS. So you look for something that's better than halfway there, right? Am I 0.6 or 0.7 ROAS with this initial offer? Because if I am, I know that optimization can get me into the green, right? If I'm at a 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 even, we still have a ways to go because even campaign optimization is probably not going to get you into the green. You're probably going to optimize yourself up to a 0.6, 0.7, which means you're still losing money, right? So I look for, am I more than halfway there? If I am, a little tweak to the campaigns, a little tweak to the landing page, and we're going to be there, right? That's kind of my benchmark. Now everybody's offer is different. Keep in mind, if you're doing a free trial, you may want to be okay with going in the hole a little bit. If you're doing a 1 bottle, 3 bottle, 6 bottle, yeah, you need to be better than halfway there, in my opinion, in order to continue down that path. And if not, try a new ad, right? Maybe the framing in the ad wasn't very good. Maybe you weren't setting the stage, or maybe their expectations were different than what you led them to believe. You see that sometimes when people high price, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you make it sound amazing and you get there and it's way more than they anticipated, and then they're out, right? So I don't often talk about price in the ad, but it is something to consider when you're, when you have a mismatch like that. You have a high click-through rate and a poor conversion, something's off, right? You either trick them, right?
Yeah, something at the landing page level is all. Yeah.
So there's not a congruency between that ad and that offer. So I would start there. I hope that answers your question.
Levers, right? A lot of things you can test all the way from the landing page all the way to the ad. There's a gap in between there. So you're looking for a point, you're looking for basically half the ROI. So 0.5 to a 0.7 return on investment. What's the typical sort of time range for that? Is it like you're going to know right away with an ad? You're going to do one ad at first? Like how many ads, and then what kind of time frame are you typically looking at?
That's a good question. Yeah. So it does depend on your budget. So if you're starting slow and you're spending, $50, $100 a day, it's going to take you 2 weeks to probably get any data that's, worth looking at. So if you have a bigger budget, then I would say you start, a little bit higher, start at 250 a day and work your way up. And that brings up a good point in terms of budget increases. Similar to any other traffic, when you throw money at them, they'll burn it fast, right? So you want to basically say, okay, I'm at 250 a day, it's working. I'll go up 10% and I'll go up, another $25. And now I'm at 275 a day, and I'll let that run for a couple of days, see how it performs, and then I'll throw another 10% at that. So you want to scale slowly if it's working. But typically it's not so much about days, it's more about eyeballs, right? How many eyeballs have I sent to this offer? Did I send enough to really gauge whether or not this is working? And the click costs in YouTube, one of the challenges with YouTube is that the clicks are often more expensive than Facebook. But it's because that there's intent behind that click, so we're willing to pay that extra cost. But you may see a click-through rate in YouTube that's 70 cents to $1. So, if I spend $1,000, I'm sending 1,000 eyeballs to that offer. That's a good starting point for me. If I send 1,000 eyeballs, how many sales did I get? So I hope that answers your question, but basically less about time, more about visits.
Gotcha. And you can also reduce that time by having a higher budget, of course.
Exactly. You're going to get that knowledge. You can get it in 7 days, you can get it in 30 days. It just depends on how quickly you're willing to kind of spend that initial money.
Yeah. There's no way around not paying for the data. You have to pay for the data.
Exactly. Yep. You have to pay for the data. And some of the levers that you can pull, which are big ones. So when you run your reports in YouTube, it'll give you all the channels that showed your ad. And then so you may have one channel that's converting, you spent $150 and you got 7 sales. You're like, wow, this is great. So number one, you can take that channel out and be like, I want to run a campaign specifically just to that channel because it's working. But then you may have another one that spent $120 and didn't get any sales at all. And then you'd want to start excluding that, right? So now you basically just wipe that one off the list. I'm not going to spend. So that's how you get that optimization, right? You spent 1,000, but you wasted 100 on this one channel because it was irrelevant, but YouTube decided to show your ad there. Maybe it was a Dave Ramsey channel, right? And you're selling arthritis medicine, and YouTube thought it might be a good idea, but it ended up not being a good idea. So it's almost like whack-a-mole, right? So it's like, you get rid of the bad ones, do more of the good ones, up your budgets on the ones that are working. And that's how you get that 0.6, 0.7 ROAS to a, 0.8, 0.9, or even better. That's how that optimization process works. There's also exclusion lists. We can get into that another time, but there's basically ways for you to exclude topics, exclude shows that children might be watching, like we talked about in the beginning, my daughter watching, Coco Melon or something. You can exclude that type of stuff as well. Do your best to get rid of it. It's not foolproof, but there is optimization that you can do.
So from a general perspective, right, we're talking, got to dial it, just like any other ad traffic channel, right? You have to dial it in first. So dialing it in is at least 1,000 visits. You think 1,000 clicks is what you're recommending?
Yeah, typically I recommend that people are going to need $1,500 to test, the initial ads. And now that's, again, only if you're only running 1 or 2 creatives. If you have a bunch of creatives, you have to send enough traffic to each one of those creatives, right? So if you have 3 to 5 ads, then you're going to need probably $500 per ad. That's $2,500. So it's kind of, it all depends, but I would say if someone's asking me what is the absolute minimum I need to spend to test YouTube, I'd say $1,500 to $2,500.
And they could spend that in a month, they could spend it in a week, they could spend that in a day. It really doesn't matter.
In a month or a week, I would say. Yeah.
Gotcha. And as far as the ads go, if you do start with $1,500 or even 1,000 budget, and you just have 2 ads, is that more risky than having 4 ads and a $1,500 budget? Or
yeah, so that's a really good question. So the companies that do really well on YouTube are the companies that test the most creative, right? So if you go in thinking, oh, this one ad is going to be my winner, you're probably not going to do well, because we all make these assumptions all the time, but the data will tell you what ads are the best ads. And in order for you to get that home run, 7 or 8 out of the 10 ads that you do are going to lose, right? So you're lucky if you get 2 or 3 winners out of a batch of 10, if that answers your question. So you don't have to have 10 ads to start, but to keep going, to really figure this thing out, you're going to have to create a half a dozen or more ads to test against each other.
So let's say you're in a situation where you're not seeing your minimum benchmarks, or you're not seeing your 0.5 or your 0.7 ROAS right out of the gate. You started with 2 ads. You start with a lower budget of $1,000, a minimum budget of $1,000. What would you recommend? Like, obviously, I think they need to keep going, but how would you approach that situation?
So if I'm getting a 2% or better click-through rate, I have a good ad. And now I need to work on beating it, but I'm good. You know what I mean? I can, pass the buck for a couple weeks and then have somebody work on new ads for me. But if you're getting less than a 1.5 or even a 1% click-through rate, it's pause, go back to the drawing board, get 2 or 3 new ads created, start again, and save that $1,000, to be honest. Right. I would say, you'll know right away what you're at. You can spend $100 on the click-through rate test and know whether or not you have a good ad, only if you have targeting in place. If you're just saying 55 plus female or no targeting at all, then you're not gonna be able to gauge your click-through rate on your ad. So as long as you're targeting, it's important to remember that as long as your targeting is good and in place, the click-through rate test will be a very effective way of saying, yes, this is a good enough ad, or no, I need to stop and go back to the drawing board.
That's a really good point. And I want to touch a little bit on the pausing, right? Because if you pause an ad campaign on another platform like Facebook, you actually get penalized, right? Because now the algorithm stops learning and basically starts all over again. Is that the same case on YouTube?
So it's not as bad on YouTube. And so I should be more clear. Instead of pausing, what we do is take budgets down. So we'll go down to $5 a day, or $10 a day. You know what I mean? So it's still running. It's still trying to do what it's supposed to do, but you're not going to blow through a bunch of money. And one thing YouTube is pretty good at is your daily budget caps. It tends to not run wild. It can spend up to 2.5 times your daily budget. So that's one thing to consider. If you have if you put $1,000 a day budget, don't be surprised if YouTube spends $1,500 one day, right? So that does happen, but typically they're pretty good about sticking to your daily caps.
Gotcha. So there's a lot of pitfalls. If someone were to do this on their own, they probably would fall down a lot of holes.
Yeah, it's just like all these. It's just like all these traffic platforms. Like you pay what they call, I don't like using the word dummy because none of us are dummies, but you pay the dummy tax, right?
Yeah.
It's like not having a good accountant. You know what I mean? You pay a lot more money in taxes than you should.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't know what you're doing, you can lose your money, pretty easily in these traffic platforms. Not YouTube, Facebook or any of the native ad networks. It's all the same thing. You really have to know what you're doing.
100%. What about your hook ideas? Where do you get your ideas from?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a tried and true method of ad research, and it's kind of funny, but I often spend a lot of time on Pinterest. And the reason why is because Pinterest is loaded with visual ideas, right? So for example, if you type in cholesterol in Pinterest and just scroll, and you'll see there might be a grapefruit image or something, right? And then, okay, my mind starts thinking like, how can I use grapefruit? People already associate grapefruit with cholesterol. Maybe I can flip it, right? And figure out a way to shock them. And the grapefruit is just the first thing that popped in my head. But literally, you can find 25 different hook ideas for cholesterol just by doing a quick Pinterest search. So that's my best source of creative ideas, but I do have others. I do Amazon book titles. So I'll look for, let's say, arthritis, and I'll go to Amazon under books, and then I'll look at some of the book titles and see what kind of catchy title they came up with, and is there something I could spin off of that? Another one is YouTube organic. So this is a great one. So type in your keyword in YouTube, and then look at the thumbnails on the images on the right-hand side. And for example, if you type in weight loss, you might see celery juice. I drank celery juice for 10 days and lost 30 pounds as a thumbnail, YouTube thumbnail text. So the way my brain works is like, oh, wow. So there's a lot of people out there that are curious whether or not drinking celery juice is an effective weight loss, technique. So my ad might be, avoid drinking celery juice if you want to lose weight. Here's why. That could be my opening statement. Again, I'm just making stuff up off the fly, but I would have never thought of celery juice as a weight loss method because I'm not a 30-something, Instagram influencer.
Yeah.
Or what a model eats in a day, right? That was one that I saw when I was typing in weight loss. It was like, runway model, what I eat in a day. And then she went through her whole morning routine and what she eats and all that like that. I'm like, that's an interesting hook for a weight loss ad, right?
That is a really good one, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my couple secret sauces. Let me see. You can also do, obviously, VidTal we talked about before. You can see what others are already doing. The Facebook ad library is still a useful resource for people that are looking for ad ideas. And I think that's pretty much it. That's where I typically start.
If someone wanted to start with YouTube ads and wanted to, engage you and get you to manage the thing, produce the thing, to do the whole shebang, where can they reach you? What can they do?
Yeah, you can check out KeithCannone.com. It's KEITH, and then my last name, CANNONE.com. And I'm happy to jump on with anybody for 15 or 20 minutes for free, just to talk about what you have, what your offers are, and let you know if it's a good fit, and guide you in whatever way that I may be able to.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, if you're listening, please do take advantage of this. This is a goldmine opportunity for traffic for supplements.
Thank you, Bobby. Yeah, I enjoyed talking with you, and happy to help any way I can.
Thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Have a great one.
Creative Thirst is a direct response digital agency focusing on conversion rate optimization and A/B testing. We work with dietary supplement companies who are struggling to maximize the profitability of their funnels so they can scale. Through the last 7 years in the online health space, we've optimized many dietary supplement businesses. And in that time, we've uncovered the 3 critical funnels for success. We put together that information in a free digital download called The 3 Funnels Every Health Supplement Business Needs to Build a Multi-million-dollar Empire. You can get that free report by going to creativethirst.com. Scroll down to the appropriate section and click on the blue Get Your ebook button.